Hello, good people. Welcome back to the Kuhb Games YouTube channel. My name is Evan, and we play goats here. I am on my alternate account, and I'm testing out a deck that I've been thinking about playing around with for a little bit now, and that is Abyss Soldier Warriors. There are all kinds of Abyss Soldier decks in GOAT format, of course, but I believe that Abyss Soldier feels kind of natural in Warriors for a couple of reasons. First of all, it allows you to play a Sangan Sinister Serpent package, and of course, both of those cards are just great. Abyss Soldier lets you cut down on Blade Knight, which is generally one of the worst monsters in the deck, and it's a very good tempo card. Just like Blade Knight, your opponent can't really just set monsters into it, because if you have a Sinister Serpent, you can just be popping those set monsters every turn that they're set. You can also just, keep your opponent off a back row if they're on one back row or whatever. You can take care of a lot of different problems with this card. Just creates a lot of positive tempo, and it's a big beater. So, big fan of this card just in general, and I just want to give it its shot in Warriors. Also pairs very well with Tribe Infecting Virus, which of course is one of the best cards in Warriors. Again, you get to play the Sangan Sinister Serpent package. We're playing just a very small Warrior package in this deck. We're playing just the one Blade Knight. I elected to keep one because I am keeping my monster count low. And Blade Knight is still just a decent card. It's also a light, which is going to come into play in Game 2 and 3. You'll see we don't actually have a BLS in the main, and that's because my light count is very low. So I just decided to keep this deck very low to the ground and pretty aggressive for Game 1. We're playing one Sasuke, one level 2, one Exiled Force, one Danzalug, one DD Warrior Lady. Nothing really new there. Only one Kaiku. I figured Abyss Soldier is also good against Chaos, and generally the Warrior strategy like this is good. I guess any aggressive strategy is good against Chaos Turbo Game 1, so just the one Kaiku I think will be fine. One Breaker, and then we do have the smallest of Mystic Tomato packages. We have the Mystic Tomato that can of course search out the Sangan to get the ever important Sinister Serpent in this list. It can also get a Spirit Reaper, it can also get a Danzalug. So just decided to include that little bit just to make the Abyss Soldier a little bit more consistent. And especially if we're playing the Sinister Serpent package, I think it's fine to have this, and it also fits in well with the post-board strategy. The whole spell lineup is pretty normal, so not a whole lot to talk about there. I am playing one Book of Moon. Not really sold on this card right now, but just want to give it its shot, so I've included it in the deck right now. I kind of want to try out a creature swap in the main, but I mean, flex slots still in the early stages of kind of building and testing this. Trap lineup looks like a lot like a Warrior trap lineup. We have 3 Dust Shoots because I really like Dust Shoot. Just 1 Sakuretsu armor. I think since we're including Mystic Tomato with the Sangan and the Sinister Serpent, I think we may want to add a Raigeki break in here, but that is a change that I'll make on a future date. We do have for the sideboard a complete conversion side. This is another reason why I wanted to try Abyss Soldier in the Warrior deck. It allows you to be a little bit more hybrid Game 1 because you have the Mystic Tomato, Sangan, Sinister Serpent, so you're not like full on aggro, but these cards kind of complement your aggro strategy with the Abyss Soldier. And I think that transposes very well to the conversion side here. So I do have one Apprentice Magician with the Magician of Faith and Old Vindictive package in here, and only 2 Gravekeeper Spies. I really wanted the Apprentice Magician because I think the Magician of Faith is just so strong, and also it gives me another light. Like I said, this deck is a little bit short on lights, and I wanted to have the full Chaos package of 1 BLS, 2 Chaos Sorcerer in the board. Because we are siding in all of these recruiters and stuff, we do have some Monarchs, we have 2 Zaborgs and a Mobius, and then we actually have 3 copies of Royal Decree. So what I'm doing whenever I want to side out whenever I want to side in the decrees and side in this like whole package, is I'm usually taking out the Solemn Judgments, the Dust Tornadoes, the Trap Dust Shoots, because we're generally going to be playing against aggro decks when we want to side in the decrees, and burn, and Dust Shoot obviously not very good there. Sometimes I'll take out the Sakuretsu armor and the Call of the Haunted, and we'll just run the small trap lineup of the 3 Trap Trinity, if you want to call them that, and 3 Royal Decree. So basically, what we're doing whenever we side in all 15 of these cards is we're looking to cut Solemn Judgments, Dust Tornadoes, Trap Dust Shoots sometimes, just kind of depending. Call of the Haunted sometimes. We're going to be cutting the Rhodas and almost all of the Warrior package. You could cut all of it, just kind of matchup dependent. You could also cut the Spirit Reaper if you're playing against something the Reaper's not great against, but that's kind of what we're looking at. So we're going to get into a replay of one of the matches that I played to sort of see how the deck functioned. All right, so we are playing against what looks to be an aggro deck game one. We're going to see that off of this dust shoot here momentarily, but the opponent also just plays King Tiger, so I'm automatically thinking it's got to be, some sort of aggressive deck. Not a lot of decks play King Tiger in the main. I love that card, obviously, but we have an interesting hand. So normally I don't like to throw out the Graceful Charities early, if you've ever seen me talk about that, until I really know what I want to get off of the card. But like I said, seeing the King Tiger lead turn one, I know we're going to be playing against some sort of aggressive strategy, so I would like a way to attack over this King Tiger and just get a plus right off the bat. So we are just going to throw off the Graceful Charity first. I don't like playing the MST first. There's a chance that this could be a Jar of Greed or something. There's no reason to just run the MST into that, especially when I don't even have anything to attack over the Tiger or protect yet anyway. So just going to throw off the Graceful Charity. If they want to Solemn turn one, that's perfectly fine. I have a Ring of Destruction in hand, and eventually I can get to a monster here. You see I do draw a Kaiku, which is very nice. So we do have the MST that we can blow up this back row, and then we can just attack over the King Tiger, and we've put our opponent on no board. We're up a card with a pretty good hand here, because now we have like Ring of Destruction to interact, Solemn Judgment. I'm actually going to pitch the Premature Burial and the Nobleman of Crossout. Reasoning for that is, again, I think it's an aggressive deck, so I don't think the Nock's going to be as good. And the Prima, which is the card I don't really need, I suppose. I really want to throw off this MST this turn and summon the Kaiku and attack. So I want to keep the MST and the Kaiku. Sangan's just a good backup monster, and it's good against the aggro decks as is, and it helps me actually get through the back row, so I don't really need the Prima for what I've got. And then opponent does have 4 cards in hand, so we keep the Dust Shoot because it's good, we keep the Ring because it's good, and it keeps our opponent off the board, and we can be aggressive here, and of course Solemn Judgment is Solemn Judgment. So yeah, I am just going to MST the back row, hit another MST, that's fine, summon the Kaiku, and we get our +1. And I believe I'm not going to set the Solemn Judgment. I want to play around Heavy Storm a little bit here. I know I'm going to be flipping up the Trap Dust Shoot in my opponent's standby, so no reason to set the Solemn Judgment and get heavied and then have to pay 4,000 just to keep a Ring of Destruction when we're already up a card. No reason to give up the advantage, and Ring of Destruction is just a chainable, so I just didn't want to use the life points essentially to have to protect against the Heavy Storm if I didn't have to. So we're going to Dust Shoot here. See, our opponent has a Bottomless Trap Hole, a Jinzo, a Berserk Gorilla, a Kaiku, and a second Berserk Gorilla. So I don't care if my opponent summons Kaiku and wants to crash. That's fine. I probably just let that go through, honestly, because the Gorilla is a little bit more threatening. And if my opponent just wants to summon Gorilla and attack over the Kaiku, that's fine. We have a Ring of Destruction. So I'm actually just going to send back one of the Gorillas here. I think that kind of telegraphs that I have something to deal with it. But, I mean, my opponent's other play is to summon a Kaiku and crash, and then I guess hope that the Gorilla can get there. But that's actually not a terrible play. Hope that the Gorilla can get there and eventually sack it off for the Jinzo. But, yeah, I'm just going to take one of those Gorillas here. And my opponent is going to make the play that I want them to make. They summon the Gorilla, it gets ringed. So now we get a good 2,000 chunk out of our opponent, which is very nice, because we know our opponent can't really do anything. The Bottomless Trap Hole, of course, isn't doing anything about this Sangan. They can't summon the Jinzo, their Kaiku. The best they can do is crash into Kaiku, and we're already like so far up on life points that that's just really, really good for us. Going to get rid of these 2 monsters out of the yard, of course. Going to set the Solemn Judgment, because now I have a potential just winning play on the next turn. My opponent sets another back row, so I can't just like throw out the breaker, solemn the bottomless, and attack in for a whole bunch. Wouldn't be lethal anyway, right? No, they would put him at 200. So I sit here and think for a little bit. I summon the breaker. If they want to bottomless the breaker, that's just going to get solemned anyway. So now I can solemn this bottomless trap hole. I know the card in my opponent's hand is the Jinzo, so it's kind of useless. I can break the opponent's back row because at this point the breaker has already resolved, so they can't activate like a torrential tribute or something here. So we're going to solemn the bottomless, break their back row, just crash the Kaikus because I don't really care, and then attack in for 26, and we have the opponent on a very good clock here. Obviously, if they draw another big monster, this is a little bit of a problem, but we don't really have a whole lot more going for us here. We just need to be aggressive. So turns out the play would have worked better had I just attacked with the 1900 breaker, because it's a bottomless trap hole, but, you know, I think it was still correct to just break there and trade the Kaikus. I'm going to set the trap dust shoot because why not? And opponent's going to set a back row. And back to me. So now I have a lethal Sangan and a breaker, and now Spirit Reaper is good backup in case like it's a Mirror Force or something. Then I have a monster that's just not going to be destroyed by battle, and we can sit here for a little bit. But yeah, the Sangan attack is going to get there, and we are going to win game 1. All right, so on to game 2. I sided in the full 15 cards here. So thinking that my opponent is on an aggressive deck, I saw bottomless trap holes. There are probably going to be more traps, probably some battle traps in there, maybe some solemn judgments, dust tornadoes and such. So I brought in the decrees, and I was expecting my opponent to just be just a straight up aggro deck. So we did sort of the regular side. I think I left in for the warrior package. I just left in like an exiled force and a DD warrior lady. Took everything out that I had mentioned in the deck profile here. And I think that sets us up pretty well. Unfortunately, we have this Magician of Faith with no spell card, but that's fine. We do have a breaker. We draw a Royal Decree. I'm going to summon out the breaker. I'm not sure if this is correct. We saw a bottomless trap hole. We saw multiple bottomless trap holes game 1. So maybe I'm just supposed to set the decree, summon the tomato to try to get under the bottomless trap hole, but I valued my tomato a little higher. I didn't want to run it into like a battle trap or something, but I still kind of wanted to attack if possible. And I had the idea that maybe, you know, I could set Mirror Force, set Decree, use the Mirror Force on my opponent's turn, and then I'd be able to flip up Decree and hopefully be able to win from there. And the breaker would kind of be useless at that point. It's not like totally useless. It can still fight like a Snatch Steal or something. But with the Decree out, breaker does lose a little bit of the value. I'm not really sure what I should have done here. I think maybe summoning the tomato and setting the Decree was probably fine. You're going to see this breaker play doesn't actually work out for me. The opponent does have a bottomless. That's all right. So yeah, we're just going to set the Mirror Force and the Decree, like I was thinking about. The worst case happens here. Opponent summons a Mobius. So we're way behind. We do get a tasty draw off the top here. Abyss Soldier is making its first appearance. So we summon the Abyss Soldier. It goes through. I'm going to discard Sinister Serpent. I'm actually just going to bounce the Mobius. It's kind of a dead card in our opponent's hand because they can't really set a monster to tribute for it. So like this Serpent, I can just keep bouncing that back to hand and attacking with the Abyss Soldier, assuming that my Abyss Soldier lives. I guess my opponent could draw into like Berserk Gorilla or whatever, but we're already, you know, in a position where that's just kind of is what it is if it happens. I think we have to take the more aggressive lines here since we're behind. The Abyss Soldier attack does go through, which is nice. Go to the opponent's turn. They add Sinister Serpent back to hand. And they're going to smash and ground my Abyss Soldier, so that hurts a little bit. And they're going to summon a Kaiku. That's going to take my Sinister Serpent out of the yard. So now we're just like way behind. We are buried in card advantage. We draw Sangan. Just going to set the tomato here. My opponent does have the Berserk Gorilla. I think they actually drew it that turn. So that could have killed the Abyss Soldier. I don't think they would have smashed and ground if they had the Berserk Gorilla. Well, no, they wanted to get the Kaiku attack in to take out the Serpent. So yeah, I do think they drew that for turn, which is fine. Mystic Tomato, I'm going to get a Spirit Reaper, and then my opponent says Thinking on Tomato, which means they've got Divine Wrath. And they do. I'm just going to scoop it up there. We're dead. We're buried in card advantage. My opponent's just getting the Sinister Serpent back, so the Divine Wraths are free. We're not getting the Spirit Reaper. We just have a Magician of Faith with, what, no spells? Yeah, no spells and a Sangan. We're done. And then we'll just, yeah, we're done. We'll move on to Game 3. Right, on to Game 3 we go here. Open up an interesting hand. These hands always scare me as a warrior player because I'm so used to, oh no, all monsters I can't win. But if you look at it, we do have Sangan, we have a Gravekeeper Spy, we have Magician of Faith if we draw a spell. This is two games in a row we've had the Faith with no spell. But we do have Dark Light BLS with a Sinister Serpent. This is perfectly fine. We draw Solemn Judgment. Oh, I did make a change. After seeing the opponent with Sinister Serpent and stuff like that in their deck, and especially the Mobius, made a change. I actually sided the Decrees back out. I figure that I can just get through the back row fairly easily with all of the value cards that I've got going on with the Sangan, Gravekeeper Spy, Magician of Faith to get value, Abyss Soldier, stuff like that. So I sided out the Decrees. I actually brought in, I think it was 2 Solemn Judgments and 1 Trap Dust Shoot. Thought, I'm on the play. I can play some Dust Shoots here. My opponent is playing Sinister Serpent and Monarchs and the like. So maybe we can hedge a little bit and bring in Dust Shoot just because it is such a powerful card on the play. But that's why you see a Solemn Judgment here. Just going to set the Spy, set the Judgment. We haven't really given our opponent a reason to bring Nox back into the deck. They haven't really seen any of the flips yet. We haven't actually set... I guess we did set the Tomato, but that's a card that can easily just be summoned. So I'm fine just throwing down the Spy. It's just the highest upside card to have here as well. So opponent sort of like weird T-set pass. People can set cards however they want. That's how actually a lot of people would set cards in paper, back when I played a lot back in the day. So I'm just going to flip up Spy. If my opponent has Torrential, I mean, it works out for me. This extra Spy is sort of a free card, so if they Torrential, it's really a 2-for-1 in my favor. And it allows me to summon the Sangan. So now we can get super aggressive. We don't really care about Mirror Force. We don't really care about Torrential Tribute. We get under Bottomless Trap Hole. We really don't care about Sakuretsu Armor and the like. And if anything does go wrong and I feel like I want to be more aggressive, we do have the Solemn Judgment to stop the play. And we have backup Chaos Monsters in hand. So stuff going to the graveyard really doesn't matter to us. So we're just going to get aggressive, start attacking here. I attack in with a Spy. It's a Swarm of Locusts, which Meme Deck Monday coming up is going to be Pac-Man. Love Pac-Man. So I was kind of excited to see the Swarm of Locusts here. But we are going to get in for 2,200. We're looking really good already. I really like how this is. Don't really have a read on that back row yet. An opponent's going to set some more, but again, we have the Solemn Judgment. We don't actually have to extend any more to the board at all. Though I am going to switch a Spy to Defense because I think it's kind of free here. The clock does change by a turn if I don't attack in with everything. But I think it's totally fine because now if like my opponent Mirror Forces and they follow it up with a Berserk Gorilla, I kind of don't want that to happen. And I kind of just want to keep my Solemn Judgment. I'm so far ahead now that I think I can play a little bit more conservatively. I don't have to be as aggressive. So attacking in for 22 I think is a good enough chunk. Mirror Force is just a 1-for-1 if they have it. And we're looking pretty good here. I am going to set the Torrential Tribute because I don't think my opponent's going to Heavy Storm at this point. They do have a Dust Tornado. That's fine. I don't really want to use this Torrential Tribute anyway on this board. So we kind of drew out the Dust Tornado that could have hit our Solemn Judgment later for no real cost. So pretty happy to see that. And think we're just miles ahead here, to the point where our opponent's going to snatch steal a Gravekeeper's Spy and just let it sit in defense. So against the aggro deck, we're going to sit here and just gain life. Cool. So yeah, I get to switch my monsters to defense, set this Apprentice Magician. If my opponent wants to get a little wild and attack my face down, I get to get an old Vindictive Magician out of the deck, and I can actually kill this Gravekeeper Spy, and then I can start attacking again. Or I can take care of whatever. If my opponent wants to summon a Jinzo, I can get the Vindictive Magician and kill the Jinzo, instead of flipping a Solemn Judgment on it. Because honestly, if my opponent put a Jinzo on the board, that's perfectly fine with me, because it's turning off all of their back row as well. So I don't really want to Solemn it. I want to get rid of it when the opportunity is right for me. Here we draw Graceful Charity, so we finally have a spell for our Magician of Faith. The poor Magician of Faith, they have just not done much in either game here. So we draw Tribe, Premature, and Heavy Storm. And I just, okay, well, this Heavy Storm is likely going to resolve unless my opponent has 2 Solemn Judgments down. And even if they do, I have a Tribe that can just clear the Gravekeeper Spy. And this is likely going to be game here. So here's the Heavy Storm. Opponent gives a thumbs up. We get the Spy back. My opponent loses everything. We summon the Tribe, and that's going to be the game. So this is a deck that I've done a little bit of testing with before, as I said. I'm going to be testing a lot more with it. I actually really enjoy the sort of hybrid warrior decks that aren't playing flips in the main. I've been a big proponent of not playing flips in the main in the warrior deck and just not setting, period. Game 1, if you can help it. I really, really like to keep the noblemans dead, because part of the strength of warriors is your opponent just has so many dead cards game 1. And so I like when you can play these hybrid decks that include the Sangan, include Sinister Serpent, and cards like Abyss Soldier, Mystic Tomato, Spirit Reaper, cards that you don't have to set, but can serve like a variety of purposes, and do a lot of different things to make your deck work on some different axes. And I think it lends really well to that sort of conversion sideboard that Anthony Alvarado sort of came up with in some previous tournament. Can't remember which one it was, but thanks for the idea. Yeah, I really like sort of how this could go. Do I think it's better than just the regular warrior deck? I have no idea. Probably not. I think there's a reason that Warriors does a whole lot better than this. And for now, I'm going to be registering Warriors for tournaments. But this is something that I'm going to keep my eye on, and I'm going to be testing a lot more in the future. So if you guys have any recommendations for it, please let me know. And I will be testing out really any idea that's given to me. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed, and we will be back with the next video.